Marcus Patterson grabbed his wife's arm and yanked her toward him in front of the entire courtroom. "You see this woman?" he shouted at the judge. "She's garbage. She's trash I picked up off the street. I gave her everything and she gave me nothing. Nothing." He shoved Grace backwards so hard she stumbled into the defendant's table. "Your Honor, don't waste another minute on this pathetic creature. She doesn't have a lawyer because nobody would represent a worthless parasite like her. She deserves to crawl out of here with nothing. Absolutely nothing." Grace steadied herself against the table. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wet. She had no lawyer, no money, no hope. But Marcus Patterson made one fatal mistake. He forgot to ask about her mother. Before we dive into this incredible story, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel and follow this story all the way to the end. Trust me, you do not want to miss what happens when those courtroom doors fly open. Drop a comment below and tell me which city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now let's begin. Marcus adjusted his tie and checked his gold Rolex. 9:47 a.m. He wanted to be early. He wanted to watch Grace walk in alone. He wanted to see the fear in her eyes. "You ready for this?" Derek Lawson asked. Derek was Marcus's attorney. People called him the Shark. He hadn't lost a divorce case in 11 years. "Born ready," Marcus said. "This is going to be fun. Don't get cocky. Judge Carter doesn't like showboating." "Relax, Derek. She doesn't have a lawyer. She doesn't have money. She doesn't have anything. This isn't a trial. This is an execution." Derek pulled documents from his briefcase. "I filed the emergency order to freeze the joint accounts on Monday. She has zero access to cash. Her credit cards are canceled. I checked this morning. She's 60 days late on the storage unit where she's keeping her things. They're auctioning everything next week." Marcus grinned. "Perfect. What about the prenup?" "Ironclad. She signed it willingly. We have witnesses." "She signed it because I made her sign it. She's always done what I told her. That's her problem. She's weak." Derek studied Marcus for a moment. "You really hate this woman. What did she do to you?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "She said no to me. That's it. That's everything. After all I gave her, the house, the cars, the lifestyle, she looked me in the eye and said she wanted a divorce. She said she didn't love me anymore. And that made you angry. That made me realize she needed to be taught a lesson. Nobody says no to Marcus Patterson. Nobody." The courtroom doors opened. Grace walked in. Marcus turned to watch. He wanted to see her face. He wanted to see defeat. What he saw made him laugh out loud. Gray dress. Cheap. Probably from a thrift store. Hair pulled back in a plain ponytail. No makeup. No jewelry except her wedding ring. And she was alone. Completely alone. "Oh my God," Marcus whispered. "Look at her. This is even better than I imagined." Grace sat down at the defendant's table. She didn't look at Marcus. She folded her hands in front of her and stared straight ahead. Her hands were shaking. She pressed them together harder. Marcus leaned across the aisle. "Hey, Grace." She didn't respond. "Grace, I'm talking to you." Slowly, she turned her head. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. Marcus loved it. "Where's your lawyer, sweetheart?" "Oh, wait, let me guess. You couldn't afford one. Because I took all your money. All our money. Because it was never your money, Grace. It was always mine." Grace said nothing. She turned back to face forward. "That's right. Just sit there and take it. That's what you're good at. That's all you've ever been good at." "Marcus!" Derek grabbed his arm. "Save it for the hearing." "Why, look at her. She's already beaten. This isn't a trial. It's a formality." The bailiff stepped forward. "All rise. The Honorable Judge Raymond Carter presiding." Everyone stood. Judge Carter walked in. Thin, 60s, sharp eyes, gray hair, military precision. He sat down and put on his reading glasses. "Be seated." Everyone sat. Case number 2024 FC 8847. Patterson versus Patterson. Preliminary hearing for dissolution of marriage and matters of asset division. He looked at Derek. Mr. Lawson. Good to see you. Derek stood. Thank you, Your Honor. We're prepared to proceed. Judge Carter turned to Grace. His eyebrows rose when he saw her sitting alone. Mrs. Patterson, I see you're here without counsel. Are you expecting representation? Grace stood slowly. Her voice came out as barely a whisper. Yes, Your Honor. She should be here soon. There was traffic on I-45. Marcus snorted loudly. Judge Carter's head snapped toward him. Is something funny, Mr. Patterson? Derek jumped up. Apologies, Your Honor. My client is frustrated. This case has dragged on for months. Control your client, Mr. Lawson. This is a court of law. Yes, Your Honor. Judge Carter turned back to Grace. Mrs. Patterson, this hearing was scheduled for 10 a.m. It's now 10:07. If your attorney doesn't arrive in the next few minutes, I'll assume you're proceeding without representation. She's coming, Your Honor. Please, just a few more minutes. Marcus couldn't resist. Your Honor, if I may. You may not, Mr. Patterson. But this is ridiculous. She's stalling. She doesn't have a lawyer. She doesn't have any money. I know because I made sure of it. Judge Carter's eyes narrowed. Excuse me. Derek grabbed Marcus's arm. Your Honor, what my client means is that we filed motions to establish financial boundaries. Mrs. Patterson's lack of resources is a matter of court record. I froze everything, Marcus interrupted, pulling his arm free. The bank accounts, the credit cards, all of it. She has nothing because I took it all. And she deserves nothing because she is nothing. Silence. Grace's shoulders trembled. She wrapped her arms around herself. Judge Carter stared at Marcus. Mr. Patterson, I'm giving you one warning. 1. If you speak out of turn again, if you make any more comments designed to humiliate the defendant, I will hold you in contempt. Do you understand? Marcus forced a smile. Yes, Your Honor. I apologize. I just want what's fair. Sit down. Marcus sat, but he wasn't worried. The clock was ticking. Grace was alone. Victory was inevitable. Derek stood again. Your Honor, Mrs. Patterson has had adequate time to secure representation. We move to proceed with judgment based on evidence already filed. Judge Carter looked at Grace. His eyes held something like pity. Mrs. Patterson, I cannot delay indefinitely. If you cannot produce counsel in 30 seconds, I'll assume you're representing yourself. Grace's voice cracked. Please, Your Honor, one more minute. She's coming. She's lying, Marcus said. She has nobody. Her father was some small-town mechanic who died years ago. Her mother abandoned her. She has no family, no connections, no friends. I made sure of that. Mr. Patterson. Judge Carter's gavel cracked. I'm stating facts, Your Honor. This woman spent our entire marriage pretending to be something she's not. She claimed she was from a good family. Everything about her is a lie. She married me for my money. Grace was crying now, silent tears running down her cheeks. Your Honor, Derek said, perhaps we should simply proceed. Judge Carter sighed. He reached for his gavel. Bang! The courtroom doors exploded inward. Both doors slammed against the walls. Officer Williams reached for his weapon before stopping himself. Every head turned. Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Fear. A woman stood in the doorway. Late 60s. Perfectly straight posture. White Chanel suit. Silver hair cut in a sharp, precise style. She removed her designer sunglasses, slowly revealing eyes cold as surgical steel. Behind her stood 3 younger lawyers in expensive suits carrying leather briefcases, standing in perfect formation. The woman didn't hurry. She walked down the center aisle, her heels clicking on the marble floor. Click, click, click. Derek Lawson dropped his pen. His face went pale. No, Derek whispered. That's not possible. What? Marcus hissed. Who is that? Derek didn't answer. His hands were shaking. Derek, who is she? The woman reached the defense table. She didn't look at Grace. She didn't look at the judge. She turned and looked directly at Marcus. And she smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator cornering its prey. "Apologies for my late arrival, Your Honor," she said. Her voice was smooth and cultured, filling every corner of the room. "I was delayed filing motions at the federal court in Washington regarding Mr. Patterson's financial statements. It took longer than expected to document all his hidden accounts in the Cayman Islands and Switzerland." Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. Judge Carter leaned forward. "Counsel, state your name for the record." The woman placed a gold-embossed business card on the court reporter's desk. "Helen Ashford, Senior Managing Partner at Ashford Williams & Associates, offices in Washington, D.C., New York, and London. I am entering my appearance as counsel for Mrs. Grace Patterson." She paused. "I am also her mother." Silence. Absolute silence. Marcus stared at her. Mother Grace said her mother was gone. She said they hadn't spoken in 20 years. She never said her mother was Helen Ashford. Everyone knew that name. Supreme Court arguments, Fortune 500 clients, Forbes magazine covers. This wasn't a lawyer. This was a force of nature. "Mother," Marcus stammered. "You said your mother abandoned you." Grace looked up. Her eyes were wet, but something new was there. Hope. "I said she was gone from my life, Marcus. I didn't say she was dead. We were estranged, until yesterday." "Estranged?" Helen repeated. "Yes. My daughter left home 23 years ago because she wanted to escape my world. She wanted a simple life. She wanted to be loved for who she was." Helen moved to the chair beside Grace. She didn't hug her. Not yet. This was business. She opened her briefcase with 2 sharp clicks. "Grace called me yesterday evening. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. She told me her husband had taken everything, her money, her home, her dignity." Helen pulled a thick stack of documents from her briefcase. "So I canceled a $40 million case and flew here overnight. Because that's what mothers do, Mr. Patterson. We protect our children." She turned to Derek Lawson. "Hello, Derek. I haven't seen you since the Pemberton merger in 2019. You were barely a junior associate then, carrying files, fetching coffee." Derek's face flushed red. "Mrs. Ashford, I wasn't aware you were admitted to practice in Texas." "I'm admitted in every state that matters. I've argued before the Supreme Court 11 times. I usually handle constitutional law. Corporate matters worth hundreds of millions." She paused. "But when my daughter called me crying when she told me some mid-level oil executive with more ego than intelligence was trying to destroy her, I made an exception." "Objection," Marcus shouted. "Personal attack." "Sit down, Mr. Patterson," Judge Carter barked. "Your Honor," Helen said. "Mr. Lawson claims my client has no assets and no legal standing. That argument is now irrelevant." She dropped a massive stack of documents on Derek's desk. He jumped backward. "Mr. Patterson claims the properties, the house in River Oaks, the condo in Miami, the investment portfolios are his sole property protected by a prenuptial agreement." "That prenup is binding," Marcus shouted. "She signed it willingly." Helen turned to face him. "Mr. Patterson, do you know who drafted the legal framework for identifying coercion in prenuptial agreements adopted by the American Bar Association?" Marcus blinked. "What? I did. In 2001. She pulled a document from the stack. "According to my daughter's sworn affidavit complete with phone records and text messages, you threatened to burn down her grandmother's house in Alabama and harm her younger sister if she didn't sign that prenuptial agreement the night before your wedding." Gasps. From the bailiff, the court reporter, everyone. "That's a lie," Marcus screamed. "She's lying. We have the text messages, recovered from your phone's backup server. The phone you thought you wiped clean 6 months ago." She held up another document. "Exhibit C, Your Honor. 17 text messages sent by Mr. Patterson on September 14, 2018, the night before their wedding." Judge Carter flipped through the documents. His face darkened. Derek frantically shuffled papers, sweating hands trembling. "Your Honor," Derek stammered, "we haven't had time to review this evidence. This is an ambush." An ambush. Helen laughed. Cold. Dangerous. You tried to rush judgment against a woman with no counsel while your client called her worthless. You don't get to talk about fairness. She turned back to the courtroom. Now, the money. Helen paced slowly in front of the bench. Mr. Patterson claims his net worth is $3 million. That's what he declared on his financial affidavit 3 days ago, under oath. She stopped. My forensic accountant specialists who trace money for the FBI spent 18 hours following Mr. Patterson's shell companies. Dubai, Cayman Islands, Switzerland, Delaware. She pulled another thick folder from her briefcase. The total amount hidden is not $3 million. She dropped the folder on Derek's desk. The thud echoed like a gunshot. It's $27 million. Silence. Marcus felt his legs give out. He sat down hard, nearly missing his chair. Since Mr. Patterson failed to disclose these funds on his sworn affidavit, Helen continued, that constitutes perjury, financial fraud, potentially money laundering. She looked directly at Marcus. You're not just losing your divorce today, you're going to prison. Marcus grabbed Derek's arm. Do something. Object. Say the evidence was illegal. Derek looked at the documents. He looked at Judge Carter's contempt. He looked at Helen Ashford, straightening her cuffs. Then Derek started packing his briefcase. Your Honor, I must move to withdraw as counsel for the plaintiff. Marcus's eyes went wide. What? A serious ethical issue has arisen, Derek continued. I cannot be party to perjury. You traitor! Marcus lunged and grabbed Derek's lapels. I paid you $300,000. Officer Williams yanked Marcus backward and slammed him into his chair. Sit down and shut up, the bailiff growled, or you're spending this hearing in handcuffs. Marcus sat, breathing hard, tie loose, hair disheveled. For the first time, Marcus Patterson looked scared, truly scared. He had walked in expecting to destroy his wife. Instead, his world was collapsing, and Helen Ashford was just getting started. Your Honor, Helen said calmly, I would like to call my first witness. Judge Carter rubbed at his temples. Proceed. Helen smiled. I call Mr. Marcus Patterson to the stand. Marcus didn't move. His legs wouldn't work. Mr. Patterson, Judge Carter said sharply, take the stand. Marcus looked at Derek. Derek was staring at the wall, refusing to make eye contact. Marcus looked at Grace. His wife was watching him now. There were still tears on her cheeks, but something had changed in her eyes. She didn't look beaten anymore. She looked like she was watching justice arrive. Mr. Patterson, Judge Carter repeated. I won't ask again. Slowly, Marcus stood. His legs felt like rubber. The walk to the witness stand felt like a mile. Officer Williams made him place his hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Marcus's mouth was dry. I do. Sit down. Marcus sat. He gripped the railing of the witness box. His palms were sweating. Helen approached slowly. She didn't carry any notes. She didn't need them. Mr. Patterson, earlier today you stated that my daughter was late because of traffic. Then you laughed. Do you remember that? It was just a comment. A comment, I see. You also called her pathetic, worthless, a stray dog. Do you remember that? Marcus glanced at Judge Carter. I was frustrated. Frustrated. Interesting choice of word. Helen began to pace. Let me ask you something. How long have you and Grace been married? 6 years. And in those 6 years, did Grace ever work? Marcus scoffed. She played with her paints. She called it art. Played with her paints. So she didn't contribute to the household? She did nothing. I paid for everything. The house, the cars, her clothes, her food, everything. Everything, Helen repeated. So you believe Grace deserves nothing in this divorce? That's exactly what I believe. She was dead weight, a parasite. Helen stopped pacing. She turned to face Marcus directly. Mr. Patterson, did you purchase a condominium in Miami Beach on March 20th of this year? Marcus hesitated. That was a business investment, a rental property. A rental property, I see. Helen pulled a document from her jacket. According to credit card statements linked to that property, you purchased furniture. A king-size bed, a dining set, kitchen appliances. Expensive furnishings for a rental, wouldn't you say? Grace's hand flew to her mouth. It was to increase rental value, Marcus said quickly. Good furniture attracts better tenants. Of course. And the gold necklace you purchased from a jewelry store 3 days later, the one that cost $15,000, was that also to attract tenants? Marcus said nothing. Or was it for the woman living in that apartment? The woman named Destiny Williams? Marcus flinched like she'd slapped him. Objection, Derek called out weakly from his seat. Relevance. Infidelity doesn't affect asset division under Texas law. It does when marital funds were used to support the affair, Judge Carter ruled. Overruled. Answer the question, Mr. Patterson. I don't know what she's talking about. You don't? Helen's smile widened. We'll come back to Miss Williams. Let's talk about Summit Holdings. That's one of your shell companies, correct? It's a legitimate business. A legitimate business. And what does this legitimate business do? Investment, real estate. Investment, real estate. Helen nodded slowly. Mr. Patterson, you stated in your sworn affidavit that your income last year was $300,000. Correct. Business was difficult. The economy. The economy? Yes, you mentioned that. Helen pulled another document. I have here bank statements from a financial institution in the Cayman Islands. They show a wire transfer of $2 million entering an account controlled by Summit Holdings. On the same day, you claimed the economy was difficult. Marcus's face went gray. Can you explain that transfer, Mr. Patterson? That was... Allow me to help you. You converted that money into cryptocurrency. Bitcoin. Stored on a digital wallet in a safety deposit box at Chase Bank downtown Houston. Box number 412. How? Marcus whispered. How could you possibly? I'm Helen Ashford, she said simply. Finding hidden money is what I do. It's what I've done for 30 years. She stepped closer to the witness stand. You stood in this courtroom this morning and mocked my daughter. You laughed at her. You said she had no lawyer because she was poor and foolish. You said she couldn't manage money. Her voice dropped to a whisper that somehow filled the room. But the truth, Mr. Patterson, is that you are the fool. You stole millions from your marriage. You hid it in offshore accounts. You paraded your girlfriend around Miami while my daughter used her last $20 to buy groceries. I didn't steal anything. Marcus exploded. It's my money. I earned it. She sat at home painting useless pictures. She didn't contribute anything. Why should she get half of what I worked for? His voice echoed in the silent courtroom. Helen let the silence stretch. Then she turned to Judge Carter. Your Honor, did Mr. Patterson just admit on the record under oath that he intentionally concealed marital assets? Judge Carter stared at Marcus. It certainly sounds that way. Marcus realized what he'd done. No. Wait. I didn't mean... No further questions for now, Helen said. But I'm not finished with this witness. I'd like to call another witness first. Judge Carter nodded. Proceed. I call Miss Destiny Williams. Marcus's head snapped up. No, she wouldn't. The courtroom doors opened again. A young woman walked in, beautiful. Navy dress, flat shoes. She looked scared. Her hands were shaking. She walked past Marcus without looking at him. Marcus reached out. Destiny, baby, please don't do this. She jerked away like he was poison. Destiny took the stand. Officer Williams swore her in. Her voice was so quiet, the court reporter asked her to speak up. Miss Williams, Helen said gently, thank you for being here. I know this is difficult. Can you tell the court your relationship to Mr. Patterson? I was his girlfriend for 2 years. was, "I broke up with him yesterday." "Why?" Destiny looked at Marcus, her eyes filled with tears and fury. "Because Mrs. Ashford showed me phone records, text messages. Victor was seeing another woman, in Atlanta, the whole time he was with me." The courtroom erupted, whispers, gasps. "Order!" Judge Carter banged his gavel. "Silence." "Miss Williams," Helen continued, "did Mr. Patterson ever discuss his wife with you?" "All the time. He said she was useless, a burden. He said he was going to destroy her in court." Destiny's voice grew stronger. "He bragged about it, to me, to his friends. He said it would be fun. He called it teaching her a lesson." Grace covered her face with her hands. Her body shook with sobs. "He told me." Destiny continued, tears running down her face, that he wanted to own her. Like property. Like a slave. The words hung in the air. Helen let them settle. "Thank you, Miss Williams. No further questions." She turned to Derek. "Would you like to cross-examine?" Derek looked at Marcus. Marcus was staring at the table, completely broken. "No questions," Derek said quietly. Helen walked back to the defense table. She sat beside Grace and put her arm around her daughter's shoulders. "It's over," Helen whispered. "He destroyed himself." Judge Carter removed his glasses. He cleaned them slowly. He didn't look at documents. He looked at Marcus. "Mr. Patterson, in 23 years on this bench, I've seen many ugly divorces. I've seen people fight over dishes. I've seen them try to take children out of spite. But what I witnessed today is among the most disgusting displays of arrogance, cruelty, and deception I've ever seen." Marcus didn't look up. "You came into my court and mocked a woman you promised to love and protect. You committed perjury. You committed fraud. You hid millions. You used marital funds for affairs. And you sat there laughing at your wife thinking you'd won." Judge Carter turned to Grace. His face softened. "Mrs. Patterson, I owe you an apology. This court should have protected you sooner." Grace nodded through her tears. "I'm issuing a temporary order immediately," Judge Carter said. "Final judgment will follow after Mrs. Ashford's forensic accountants complete a full audit." He picked up his pen. "First, all bank accounts, investments, and assets belonging to Marcus Patterson Summit Holdings, or any entity he controls, are frozen. Sole access granted to Mrs. Patterson and her counsel." Marcus groaned. "Second, Mrs. Patterson is awarded immediate and exclusive right to occupy the marital home in River Oaks. Mr. Patterson, you have until 6 p.m. today to vacate. You may take personal clothing. Nothing else. If you remove so much as a picture frame, I'll have you arrested for theft." Third, I'm referring a complete transcript of today's proceedings to the FBI for investigation into perjury, fraud, and money laundering. Derek's face went white. "Mr. Lawson, I strongly suggest you cooperate fully if you wish to continue practicing law." "Yes, Your Honor," Derek whispered. Fourth, Mr. Patterson will be personally responsible for 100% of Mrs. Patterson's legal fees. Given Mrs. Ashford's rates, I imagine that will be substantial." Helen smiled. "Very substantial, Your Honor." Court is adjourned. The gavel came down. Marcus sat frozen. His world had ended. In less than 3 hours, he'd gone from expecting victory to facing criminal charges, financial ruin, and public humiliation. He had no home, no money, no lawyer, nothing. He stood slowly. His legs shook. He walked toward Helen and Grace. "Grace, please. You can't do this. Where am I supposed to go?" Grace looked at him. She didn't look angry. She didn't look sad. She looked finished, like she was looking at a stranger. Helen stepped between them. She was shorter than Marcus, but somehow she towered over him. "Mr. Patterson, my daughter doesn't speak to criminals. If you have anything to say, direct it to my junior associate." She gestured to one of the young lawyers. "Daniel, give Mr. Patterson your card." Daniel handed Marcus a business card. "Now," Helen said, taking Grace's arm. Get out of our way. We have a lunch reservation. They walked past Marcus. Grace didn't look back. Marcus stood alone watching the heavy wooden doors close behind them. Officer Williams approached. Mr. Patterson, there are 2 FBI agents waiting outside. They'd like a word. Marcus felt his knees buckle. Outside the courthouse, Helen and Grace walked into the bright Houston sunlight. Grace stopped. She turned to her mother. Mama, I don't know how to thank you. Helen smiled. A real smile. A mother's smile. You don't have to thank me, sweetheart. I should have been here years ago. I should have never let you walk away. I was so stubborn. I thought I could handle everything myself. You're my daughter. Stubbornness runs in the family. Helen took Grace's hands. But you're not alone anymore. You'll never be alone again. Grace wrapped her arms around her mother. For the first time in 23 years, she let herself be held. I missed you, Mama. I missed you too, baby girl. More than you'll ever know. A black car pulled up to the curb. Helen's driver opened the door. Come, Helen said. Let's go celebrate. We have 23 years of catching up to do. Grace smiled through her tears. I'd like that. They got in the car together. As they pulled away from the courthouse, Grace looked back one more time. Through the glass doors, she could see Marcus being led away by 2 men in suits, FBI agents. 6 months ago, he had threatened to destroy her. Today, he had destroyed himself, and Grace Patterson was finally free. The black car pulled onto the freeway, and Grace finally let herself breathe. Her hands were still trembling. She looked down at them and laughed softly. A broken laugh. A relieved laugh. I can't believe that just happened, Grace whispered. Helen reached over and took her daughter's hand. Believe it, and it's only the beginning. What do you mean? Marcus Patterson thinks today was bad. He has no idea what's coming. Grace turned to look at her mother. 23 years. 23 years since she had sat in a car with this woman. 23 years since she had run away from the Ashford name, from the pressure, from the expectations. She had wanted a simple life. She had wanted love. She had found Marcus instead. Mama, I need to tell you something. What is it? I'm sorry. For leaving. For not calling. For everything. Helen squeezed her hand tighter. You don't need to apologize. I understood why you left. I was too hard on you, too demanding. I wanted you to be perfect because I thought perfect would keep you safe. I thought I could do it on my own. I thought I could build my own life. You did build your own life, Grace. You built a beautiful life. You just married the wrong man. Grace wiped her eyes. How did you find out about the divorce? About everything? Your sister called me. Grace froze. Emma called you. 3 days ago. She told me you had been living in a motel for 2 weeks. She told me Marcus had frozen all your accounts. She told me you hadn't eaten a proper meal in days. I told her not to call you. I told her I could handle it. And she ignored you. Thank God she did. Grace shook her head. I didn't want you to see me like this. Broken. Pathetic. Everything Marcus said I was. Helen's grip on her hand became almost painful. Grace Elizabeth Ashford Patterson, look at me. Grace looked. You are not broken. You are not pathetic. You are a woman who survived 6 years of psychological torture from a narcissistic monster. You are a woman who had the courage to ask for a divorce even when he threatened to destroy you. You are my daughter, and you are stronger than you know. Tears streamed down Grace's face. I don't feel strong. Strength isn't about feeling strong. Strength is about getting up when everything inside you wants to stay down. You got up today, Grace. You walked into that courtroom alone. That took more courage than Marcus Patterson has ever had in his entire life. The car slowed as they approached the restaurant. Helen's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and smiled. What is it? Grace asked. Daniel just texted me. The FBI has taken Marcus into custody for questioning. They found the safety deposit box at Chase Bank. $2.3 million in cryptocurrency. Grace's eyes widened. $2.3 million. That's just what they found in the first hour. There's more, Grace, much more. My team has been tracing his accounts for 18 hours. We've found shell companies in 6 countries, properties he never told you about, investment accounts in names you've never heard. How much are we talking about? Helen put her phone away. Conservatively, $32 million. Grace felt dizzy. $32 million. Marcus always told me we were comfortable. He gave me an allowance of $2,000 a month. He said that was generous. He lied about everything. The prenup, the finances, the affairs. Everything. Affairs plural. Helen hesitated. Grace, there's something else you need to know. Something I didn't reveal in court today. What? Destiny Williams wasn't the only woman. There were others. Many others. Grace felt her stomach turn. How many? My investigators have identified 7 women in the past 4 years, all of them younger than you. All of them receiving money from accounts that should have been yours. 7 women. Grace thought about all the nights Marcus came home late, all the business trips, all the times he said he was working when he was really with someone else. I feel so stupid, Grace whispered. You're not stupid. You're trusting. There's a difference. Marcus Patterson is a predator. He targeted you because you were kind. He manipulated you because you wanted to believe the best in people. That's not a weakness, Grace. That's a beautiful quality that he exploited. The car stopped in front of the restaurant. Helen's driver opened the door. Come, Helen said. Let's eat. You look like you haven't had a proper meal in weeks. I haven't. They walked into the restaurant together. It was elegant, quiet, the kind of place Grace used to dream about when she was counting pennies for groceries. The hostess recognized Helen immediately. Mrs. Ashford, your usual table is ready. They sat by the window. Helen ordered for both of them without looking at the menu. Grace noticed that her mother ordered all of her favorite foods. Foods Grace hadn't mentioned in 23 years. You remembered, Grace said softly. I remember everything about you, sweetheart. Every birthday, every Christmas, every Mother's Day when I sat alone wondering if you were okay. I sent cards, sometimes. I kept every single one. Grace felt fresh tears coming. I was so angry at you, Mama. For so long. You were always working, always on a case. Daddy said you loved your career more than you loved us. Helen's face tightened at the mention of Grace's father. Your father said many things. Most of them weren't true. What do you mean? Helen sighed. Grace, there are things about my marriage to your father that I never told you. Things I thought would hurt you too much to know. Tell me now. Your father and I divorced because he was having an affair with his secretary, the same cliché you see in movies. I found out when you were 15. Grace stared at her mother. Daddy cheated on you. For 3 years before I discovered it. When I confronted him, he blamed me, said I was never home, said I cared more about my clients than my family. He said I drove him to it. That's exactly what Marcus used to say to me. I know. When your sister told me what Marcus was doing, I recognized the pattern immediately. The isolation, the blame shifting, the financial control. Your father did the same things to me, just in different ways. But you fought back. I did, and I won. But it cost me you. Your father turned you against me during the divorce. He told you I was cold, heartless, that I chose money over family. Grace remembered those conversations. She remembered her father holding her while she cried. She remembered him saying that Mama didn't love them. She remembered believing every word. He manipulated me, Grace said slowly. He manipulated both of us. Samuel Ashford was charming when he wanted to be. He still is. Grace looked up sharply. You're still in contact with Daddy. Not by choice. He remarried 3 years after our divorce. His new wife is younger than you. He's now one of the wealthiest investors in Houston. We cross paths occasionally at events. Does he know about Marcus? About what happened today? Helen's expression hardened. Oh, he knows. He's the one who introduced Marcus to you, remember? Grace felt the blood drain from her face. What? You met Marcus at your father's Christmas party 6 years ago. Your father specifically invited him. They were business partners at the time. Daddy introduced us. But Marcus told me it was coincidence. He said he crashed the party because he heard there would be investors there. That was a lie. Your father brought Marcus to that party specifically to meet you. They had discussed it beforehand. Grace's hands started shaking again. Why would Daddy do that? Helen leaned forward. Because Marcus agreed to keep you away from me. Your father was always afraid that one day you would come back to me, that you would learn the truth about our divorce. So he found a man who would keep you isolated, keep you dependent, keep you too busy surviving to ever look back. That can't be true. Daddy loves me. Your father loves himself. Everyone else is just a piece on his chessboard. Grace couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. Everything she thought she knew about her life was crumbling. I need air, Grace gasped. She pushed back from the table. Helen stood immediately. Grace, wait. I need a minute, please. Grace walked quickly toward the restroom. She pushed through the door and leaned over the sink. Her reflection stared back at her. Pale, thin, broken, but not destroyed. Not yet. She splashed water on her face. She took deep breaths. She tried to process everything her mother had just told her. Her father had arranged her marriage. Her father had partnered with Marcus. Her father had been manipulating her entire adult life. The bathroom door opened. Helen walked in. I'm sorry, Helen said softly. I shouldn't have told you everything at once. It was too much. No. Grace straightened up. She looked at her mother in the mirror. I needed to know. I needed to understand why my life fell apart. It's not your fault, Grace. None of this is your fault. I know that now, but I also know something else. What? Grace turned to face her mother directly. I'm done being a victim. I'm done letting men control my life. Marcus, Daddy, anyone. I'm done. Helen smiled. That cold, dangerous smile that had made Derek Lawson drop his pen. That's my daughter. What happens next with the divorce with Marcus? The divorce will be finalized within 30 days. Marcus will be formally charged by the FBI within the week. Based on what we've found, he's looking at 5 to 10 years minimum. And Daddy? What about him? Helen's smile widened. I was hoping you would ask that. What do you mean? Grace, your father's business partnership with Marcus wasn't just personal, it was financial. They co-owned Summit Holdings together. Grace's eyes widened. Daddy owns part of the shell company. 40%, which means 40% of the money Marcus hid came from your father. And since that money was concealed from federal tax authorities, Daddy committed fraud too. Exactly. And I have every document I need to prove it. Grace felt something shift inside her, something dark, something that had been buried for 23 years. You're going to destroy him, Grace said. It wasn't a question. Only if you want me to. This is your decision, Grace. He's your father. If you want me to leave him alone, I will. Grace thought about her childhood. She thought about all the lies. She thought about the night Marcus threatened to burn down her grandmother's house. She thought about how her father had chosen a monster for her to marry. Destroy him, Grace said quietly. Helen nodded. Consider it done. They walked back to the table. The food had arrived. Grace ate for the first time in days. Real food. Good food. She felt strength returning to her body. Her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and froze. What is it? Helen asked. It's Daddy. He's texting me. Helen's eyes narrowed. What does he say? Grace read the message out loud. Grace, I heard what happened in court today. We need to talk. Come to my office at 3 o'clock. Come alone. There are things you need to know about your mother. Things she won't tell you. I love you, sweetheart. Daddy. Helen laughed. Actually laughed. He's terrified. He knows I have the documents. He's trying to get to you before I can show you the truth." "What truth?" "The same truth I just told you. But he'll spin it differently. He'll make himself the victim. He'll say I forced him to work with Marcus. He'll say it was all my fault." Grace stared at her phone. Her father's message glowed on the screen. "What should I do?" Grace asked. "That's up to you. You could ignore him, or you could go and hear what he has to say." "Would you come with me?" Helen shook her head. "If I show up, he'll know you've chosen a side. He'll shut down. He won't reveal anything." "So I should go alone." "Only if you're ready. Only if you're strong enough to hear his lies and not believe them." Grace thought about it. She thought about all the years she had believed her father. All the years she had blamed her mother. All the years she had trusted the wrong people. "I'll go," Grace said finally. "But not because I want to hear his side. Because I want him to see my face when I tell him I know everything." Helen reached across the table and touched her daughter's cheek. "I raised a warrior. I just didn't know it until today." "You raised a survivor, Mama. And survivors fight back." At exactly 3 o'clock, Grace walked into her father's office building. Ashford Investments occupied the top 3 floors of a gleaming tower in downtown Houston. Grace had been here many times before. She had always felt small in this building. Intimidated. Like she didn't belong. Not today. Today she walked through the lobby with her shoulders back. Today she looked the security guard in the eye. Today she pressed the elevator button like she owned the building. The elevator opened on the penthouse floor. Her father's secretary, a young blonde woman barely older than Grace, looked up nervously. "Mrs. Patterson, your father is expecting you. Go right in." Grace pushed open the heavy wooden doors. Samuel Ashford stood by the window looking out at the Houston skyline. He was 67 years old, silver-haired, handsome, in the way that wealthy men often are. He turned when he heard the door open. "Grace, sweetheart, thank you for coming." He moved toward her with his arms open. Grace stepped back. "Don't." Samuel stopped. His smile flickered. "Grace, what's wrong?" "I know Daddy. Know what?" "Everything. About you and Marcus. About Summit Holdings. About how you introduced us on purpose. About how you've been manipulating me my entire adult life." Samuel's face changed. The warm father disappeared. Something colder took his place. "Your mother told you. Of course she did. She told me the truth. She told you her version of the truth. There's a difference." "Then tell me your version." Samuel walked to his desk. He sat down heavily. For a moment, he looked old, tired, almost defeated. "I made mistakes, Grace. I'll admit that. But everything I did to protect you." "Protect me?" "You introduced me to a man who stole millions of dollars and threatened to destroy me. I didn't know Marcus was like that. Not at first. By the time I realized what he was, it was too late. You were already married. So you just let it happen. You let him abuse me for 6 years. I tried to help. I gave Marcus money, loans. I thought if I kept him financially stable, he would treat you better." "You gave him money. The money he hid in shell companies. The money he used to buy apartments for his mistresses." Samuel closed his eyes. "I didn't know what he was doing with it." "Yes, you did. You owned 40% of Summit Holdings. You signed the documents. You knew where every dollar went." "Grace, please, listen to me. Your mother is manipulating you. She's been waiting 23 years for this moment. She wants to destroy me because I won the divorce, because I got custody of you and Emma, because you chose me over her. I didn't choose anyone. I was 15 years old. I believed what you told me. And what I told you was true. Your mother cared more about her career than her family. She was never home. She missed birthdays. She missed school plays. She missed everything that mattered. She was building something. She was building a legacy. She was abandoning her children." Grace felt anger rising in her chest. "You cheated on her for 3 years. And when she found out, you blamed her for it. Samuel's jaw tightened. She told you about Rebecca. She told me everything. Did she tell you that she drove me to it, that she was cold, distant, that I felt like I was married to a stranger? That's not an excuse. That's never an excuse. I'm not making excuses. I'm explaining context. Grace shook her head. You know what's funny? Daddy Marcus used to say the exact same thing. Every time he hurt me, he had context. Every time he lied, he had an explanation. I spent 6 years believing him. I'm not going to spend another minute believing you. Samuel stood abruptly. Grace, think carefully about what you're doing. Your mother will use you. She'll get what she wants, and then she'll discard you just like she did before. She didn't discard me. I left, and I'm starting to understand why that was the biggest mistake of my life. If you side with her, if you help her destroy me, you'll regret it. Is that a threat? Samuel's eyes went cold. The mask was fully off now. This was the real Samuel Ashford, the one Helen had warned her about. It's a promise. I built this empire, Grace. I have friends in every courthouse in Texas. I have judges who owe me favors. I have politicians who take my calls. Your mother might be Helen Ashford, but I'm Samuel Ashford. And nobody destroys me. Nobody. Grace reached into her purse. She pulled out her phone and pressed stop on the recording app. Samuel's face went white. This conversation is now evidence, Grace said quietly. Threatening a witness in a federal investigation. I'm sure the FBI will be very interested. You wouldn't. Watch me. Grace turned and walked toward the door. She stopped with her hand on the handle. You know what the saddest part is, Daddy. I came here hoping you would apologize. I came here hoping that somewhere deep down, you actually loved me. But you don't. You don't love anyone but yourself. She opened the door. Goodbye, Daddy. I'll see you in court. Grace walked out without looking back. In the elevator, her hands started shaking again. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was adrenaline. It was power. It was the feeling of finally standing up for herself. Her phone buzzed. A text from Helen. How did it go? Grace typed back. I got everything. He threatened me. On tape. Helen's response came instantly. That's my girl. Come back to the restaurant. We have work to do. Grace smiled. For the first time in 6 years, she felt like herself again. Not Grace Patterson. Not the broken woman in the gray dress. Grace Ashford, daughter of the Iron Queen. And she was just getting started. Grace arrived back at the restaurant 40 minutes later. Her mother was waiting at the same table, phone pressed to her ear, speaking rapidly to someone about subpoenas and federal warrants. When Helen saw her daughter walk in, she ended the call immediately. Let me hear it, Helen said. Grace sat down and placed her phone on the table. She pressed play. Samuel's voice filled the space between them. If you side with her, if you help her destroy me, you'll regret it. Is that a threat? It's a promise. I built this empire, Grace. I have friends in every courthouse in Texas. I have judges who owe me favors. I have politicians who take my calls. Helen's eyes gleamed. He actually said that on tape. Every word. Grace, do you understand what you just did? I recorded my father threatening me. You did more than that. You recorded a material witness in a federal fraud investigation admitting to having corrupt relationships with judges and politicians. This isn't just evidence against Samuel. This is evidence of systemic corruption. Grace hadn't thought about it that way. She had just wanted proof. She had just wanted her father to show his true face. She hadn't realized she was capturing something much bigger. What happens now? Grace asked. Now we take this to the FBI, but not just any FBI agent. I have a contact at the Public Integrity Unit. They specialize in exactly this kind of corruption. Helen picked up her phone and made a call. David, it's Helen Ashford. I have something you're going to want to hear. Can you meet me in an hour? Bring your team? She hung up and looked at Grace. Are you ready for this? Once we hand over this recording, there's no going back. Your father will be investigated. He could go to prison. Grace thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. He was willing to let Marcus destroy me. He arranged my marriage to a monster. He's not my father anymore. He's just a man who shares my DNA. Helen nodded slowly. Then let's finish this. They drove to a nondescript office building near the federal courthouse. David Chen was waiting for them in a conference room on the 4th floor. He was a serious man in his 50s, graying at the temples with the tired eyes of someone who had seen too much corruption in his career. "Helen," David said, shaking her hand. "It's been a while. Too long. David, this is my daughter Grace." David looked at Grace with curiosity. "The daughter who ran away. I remember Helen talking about you." "She came back," Helen said simply, "and she brought a gift." Grace handed over her phone. David plugged it into a laptop and played the recording. As Samuel's voice filled the room, David's expression grew darker and darker. "I have judges who owe me favors. I have politicians who take my calls." David stopped the recording. He looked at Helen. "Where did this come from?" "My daughter recorded it this afternoon, in Samuel Ashford's office." "Samuel Ashford, the investor." "The same. And there's more, David. Much more. Samuel has a business partnership with my daughter's husband, Marcus Patterson. They co-own a shell company called Summit Holdings. We've already traced $27 million in hidden assets." David whistled softly. $27 million. "That's what we've found so far. The forensic accountants are still working." "And Patterson? Where is he now?" "FBI custody. He was taken in for questioning after the divorce hearing this morning." David leaned back in his chair. "Helen, you're giving me a lot here. Fraud, money laundering, now corruption. This could take down some very powerful people." "That's the idea." "You realize Samuel Ashford has connections everywhere. The governor's office, the state legislature, half the judges in Harris County." "I know exactly who Samuel Ashford is. I was married to him for 18 years. David's eyebrows shot up. "Samuel Ashford is your ex-husband." "The very same." "So this is personal." Helen's jaw tightened. "This became personal when he arranged for my daughter to marry a man who would abuse her for 6 years. This became personal when he threatened her 30 minutes ago for daring to tell the truth. So yes, David, it's personal. But it's also the biggest corruption case you'll see in your entire career." David was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up. "I need to make some calls. This is going to require authorization from Washington." "How long?" "Give me 2 hours." Helen nodded. "We'll wait." David left the room. Grace and Helen sat in silence. "Mama," Grace said finally, "what if this doesn't work? What if Daddy's connections protect him?" "They won't." "How can you be sure?" "Because I've spent 30 years building relationships of my own. Every judge Samuel has in his pocket, I have too. Every politician he's donated to, I've represented in cases that made their careers. Samuel thinks he's powerful. He has no idea what real power looks like." Grace studied her mother's face. The sharp features, the cold eyes, the absolute certainty. "You've been planning this for a long time," Grace said. "Haven't you?" Helen didn't answer immediately. She walked to the window and looked out at the Houston skyline. "When you left home 23 years ago, I thought my life was over. I had just lost a brutal divorce. Samuel had taken everything that mattered, the house, the children, my reputation. He told everyone I was a cold, heartless woman who cared more about work than family." "I believed him," Grace said quietly. "I know you did, and I don't blame you. He was very convincing." "He's always been convincing. That's how men like him operate. They charm, they manipulate, they make you doubt your own reality." "So what did you do?" "I rebuilt. Slowly, carefully. I built the most powerful law firm in Washington. I cultivated relationships with every important person I could find. I took cases that put me in rooms with presidents and Supreme Court justices, and I waited." "Waited for what?" Helen turned to face her daughter. "For this moment. For the moment when Samuel Ashford would finally make a mistake I could use against him. But it took 23 years. Some battles are worth waiting for. Grace felt a chill run down her spine. Her mother had been playing a game that spanned decades, a chess match where every move was calculated, every piece positioned, every outcome planned. "Did you know?" Grace asked suddenly. "About Marcus? About what he was doing to me?" Helen's face changed. The cold mask slipped. Something raw appeared beneath it. Pain, guilt, regret. "I suspected. Emma called me 2 years ago. She said you seemed different, smaller, afraid. She said she was worried about you. You knew 2 years ago. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't prove it, and I couldn't reach you. Every time I tried to call, Marcus answered. He told me you didn't want to talk. He told me you hated me. I didn't hate you, Mama. I was just afraid. I know. Marcus isolated you. That's what abusers do. They cut off your support system until you have nowhere to turn. So why didn't you come sooner?" Helen's voice cracked. For the first time, Grace saw her mother's composure break. "Because I was afraid too. Afraid you would reject me. Afraid you would believe Samuel's lies over my truth. Afraid I would lose you all over again. But you came yesterday, when Emma called. Because Emma told me it was life or death. She said you had nothing left, no money, no home, no hope. She said if I didn't come, she was afraid of what you might do." Grace's breath caught. She thought I would hurt myself. She was terrified. She's been terrified for months. Grace thought about the dark nights in the motel room, the moments when she had stared at the ceiling wondering if anyone would notice if she just disappeared, the times she had considered walking into traffic or swallowing a bottle of pills. "I thought about it," Grace admitted quietly. "I won't lie. There were nights when I thought the world would be better without me." Helen crossed the room and took her daughter's hands. Her grip was fierce, almost painful. "Listen to me. Listen carefully. The world would not be better without you. I would not be better without you. I lost you once for 23 years. I refuse to lose you again. Do you understand me?" Grace nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I need you to say it, Grace. I need you to tell me you understand." "I understand, Mama. Promise me. Promise me you will never think those thoughts again. I promise." Helen pulled her daughter into a fierce embrace. They held each other for a long moment. Two women who had been separated by lies and manipulation, finally reunited by truth. The door opened. David Chen walked back in. He stopped when he saw them embracing. "I can come back," he said awkwardly. Helen pulled away, wiping her eyes quickly. The mask went back on. The Iron Queen returned. "No. What do you have?" "Authorization from Washington. Full investigation. They're assembling a task force tonight." "How big?" 12 agents. 2 federal prosecutors. They're treating this as a RICO case." Grace looked confused. "RICO. Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act," Helen explained. "It's used for organized crime. It means they're treating your father's network as a criminal enterprise." "Can they do that?" "They can if there's evidence of ongoing criminal activity involving multiple parties, which there is. Samuel Marcus, the shell companies, the corrupt judges and politicians he mentioned. It's all connected." David sat down across from them. "There's something else. We ran preliminary checks on the judges Samuel mentioned. 3 of them have cases pending that involve Ashford investments. If we can prove they received improper influence, their rulings get overturned," Helen finished, "including any rulings against my clients over the past 20 years. "Exactly. This could be the biggest judicial corruption scandal in Texas history." Grace felt overwhelmed. This morning she had walked into a courtroom expecting to lose everything. Now she was at the center of a federal investigation that could bring down some of the most powerful people in the state. "What do you need from us?" Grace asked. David looked at her. "Your testimony. Everything you know about Marcus Patterson, your father Summit Holdings, and any conversations you've witnessed between them. I'll tell you everything. It could take days, weeks. Are you prepared for that? Grace looked at her mother. Helen nodded slightly. I'm prepared, Grace said. Let's do this. The deposition began immediately. Grace sat in a small room with David Chen and 2 other agents. She told them everything. The night Marcus proposed, the prenuptial agreement, the threats against her grandmother, the years of control and manipulation, the day she asked for a divorce and Marcus laughed in her face. She told them about finding the credit card statements for the Miami apartment, about confronting Marcus and watching him lie without blinking, about the night he grabbed her by the throat and told her she would leave this marriage with nothing or she wouldn't leave it at all. She told them about her father's Christmas party 6 years ago, about how Marcus seemed to appear out of nowhere, about how her father had smiled and said he had someone special for her to meet. He said Marcus was going places, Grace recalled. He said a man like that would take care of me. He said I deserved someone who could give me the life I was meant to have. And you believed him? David asked. I believed everything my father told me. I trusted him completely. When did that change? Today, when my mother told me the truth. The deposition lasted 4 hours. By the time it was finished, Grace was exhausted. Her voice was hoarse, her eyes were red. But she felt lighter somehow, like she had been carrying a weight for years and had finally set it down. Helen was waiting for her in the conference room. How do you feel? Empty, but good empty, like I finally got it all out. That's the first step. Now we rebuild. Rebuild what? Your life. Your identity. Everything Marcus and your father tried to take from you. Grace thought about that. For 6 years, she had defined herself as Marcus Patterson's wife. Before that, she had been Samuel Ashford's daughter. She had never really been just Grace. I don't know who I am anymore, Grace admitted. That's okay. You have time to figure it out. Helen's phone rang. She looked at the screen and frowned. It's Daniel. Give me a moment. She answered. What is it? Grace watched her mother's face change. The calm expression darkened. Her jaw clenched. When? Helen demanded. How much are you sure? She hung up and turned to Grace. Her eyes were blazing. What happened? Grace asked. Marcus Patterson made bail. What? How is that possible? Your father posted it. $10 million. Marcus walked out of federal custody 30 minutes ago. Grace felt her blood run cold. He's out. He's free. Temporarily. There's a hearing tomorrow to revoke bail, but right now, yes, he's out. Where is he? We don't know. His lawyers won't say. Grace's phone buzzed. She looked down at the screen. A text from an unknown number. You think you won today. You think this is over. I'm coming for you, Grace. I'm coming for everything you love. Your mother, your sister, everyone. You should have accepted my settlement. Now it's too late. Grace's hands started shaking. She showed the phone to her mother. Helen read the message. Her face went completely still, completely cold. He made another mistake. Helen said quietly. What do you mean? He just sent a threat across state lines to a witness in a federal investigation. That's a felony. That's automatic bail revocation. That's another 5 years minimum. Helen took Grace's phone and photographed the message. She forwarded it to David Chen immediately. He's done, Helen said. He just doesn't know it yet. But Grace wasn't listening. She was staring at the message. I'm coming for everyone you love. Emma. Her little sister Emma, who had called Helen and saved her life. Emma, who lived alone in a small apartment in Austin. Emma, who had no idea what was happening. Mama, we need to warn Emma. I'm already on it. I'm sending security to her apartment tonight. What if Marcus gets there first? He won't. I have people everywhere, Grace. I've been preparing for something like this for years. Grace wanted to believe her. She wanted to trust that her mother had everything under control. But Marcus's words echoed in her mind. "I'm coming for everything you love." And for the first time since Helen Ashford had walked through those courtroom doors, Grace felt afraid again. Truly afraid. Because Marcus Patterson had nothing left to lose. And a man with nothing to lose was the most dangerous creature on earth. Helen's security team arrived at Emma's apartment in Austin at 9:47 p.m. Grace had been pacing the hotel suite for 3 hours, checking her phone every 30 seconds, waiting for confirmation that her sister was safe. "They're there," Helen said, lowering her phone. "Emma is fine. She's confused and scared, but she's safe." Grace collapsed onto the couch. "Thank God. I'm having them bring her to Houston tonight. She'll stay with us until this is over." "Does she know what is happening?" "She knows enough. I told her Marcus is dangerous, and we need to keep her protected." Grace's phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Her heart stopped. "Don't answer it," Helen said sharply. "What if it's important? What if it's Marcus trying to track your location?" Grace stared at the phone. It kept buzzing. 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. Then it stopped. A voicemail notification appeared. "Play it on speaker," Helen said. "But don't call back." Grace pressed play. Marcus's voice filled the room. "Grace, baby, I know you're listening. I know your mother is probably there with you." "Hi, Helen. Remember me? I'm the man who's been keeping your daughter company for 6 years while you were too busy being important to care about her." Grace felt sick. "Here's the thing, Grace. I'm not angry. I'm not even upset. I understand why you did what you did today. Your mother manipulated you. She's good at that. She manipulates everyone. But I want you to know that I forgive you. I forgive you for betraying me. I forgive you for trying to destroy my life." His voice changed. Darker. Colder. "But forgiveness doesn't mean there aren't consequences. You took something from me today, Grace. You took my reputation, my freedom, my future. So now I'm going to take something from you, something precious, something you can't get back." The voicemail ended. Grace was trembling. "What does he mean? What's he going to take?" Helen's face was stone. "He's trying to scare you. That's all he has left." "But what if he does something? What if he hurts Emma? What if he hurts you?" "He won't get the chance. I've already forwarded that voicemail to the FBI. His bail will be revoked within the hour." "What if they can't find him?" "They'll find him. Men like Marcus always think they're smarter than everyone else. That arrogance is their downfall." Helen's phone rang. She answered immediately. "David, tell me you have good news." Grace watched her mother's face as she listened. Helen's expression shifted from focused to confused to something Grace had never seen before. Shock. "Are you certain?" Helen demanded. "How is that possible? When did this happen?" She hung up and stood very still. "Mama, what is it?" Helen didn't answer immediately. She walked to the window and stared out at the city lights. "Mama, you're scaring me." "Marcus is dead." Grace felt the world tilt. "What?" "They found him 20 minutes ago, in a parking garage downtown. Single gunshot wound to the head." "He killed himself." Helen turned around slowly. Her face was unreadable. "No. He was murdered." Grace couldn't process what she was hearing. Marcus was dead. The man who had controlled her life for 6 years. The man who had threatened to destroy her. The man who had just sent her a voicemail promising revenge. Dead. "Who did it?" Grace whispered. "They don't know yet. No witnesses. No security footage. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing." "Do they think it was me? Do they think I hired someone?" "No. You've been with me the entire time. Your alibi is airtight." "Then who?" Helen was quiet for a long moment. Too long. "Mama, do you know something?" "I know a lot of things, Grace. I know that Marcus Patterson made enemies everywhere he went. I know that he cheated investors. He betrayed business partners. He destroyed lives. But who would actually kill him?" Helen's phone buzzed again. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. "What now?" Grace asked. It's your father. He wants to meet. Now it's almost midnight. He says it's urgent. He says it's about Marcus. Grace felt cold all over. You don't think Daddy... I don't think anything yet, but I intend to find out. I'm coming with you. No, absolutely not. He's my father. Marcus was my husband. I have a right to know what happened. Helen looked at her daughter for a long moment. Something passed between them. An understanding. A recognition of shared strength. Fine. But you stay behind me. You don't speak unless I tell you to. And if anything feels wrong, you run. Understand? I understand. They drove to Samuel's office building in silence. The streets were empty at this hour. Houston felt like a ghost town. Grace kept thinking about Marcus's voicemail, his threats, his promises of revenge. And now he was dead. She should feel relieved. She should feel free. Instead, she felt terrified, because whoever killed Marcus was still out there, and she had no idea why. Samuel was waiting in his office when they arrived. He looked different than he had that afternoon. Smaller somehow. Older. His suit was wrinkled. His hair was disheveled. He had a glass of whiskey in his hand that was almost empty. Helen, Grace, thank you for coming. What do you want, Samuel? Helen's voice was ice. I want to tell you what happened, before the police come asking questions. What did you do? Samuel laughed bitterly. Always assuming the worst. That's very you, Helen. Did you kill Marcus Patterson? The question hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Samuel set down his glass. No, I didn't kill him, but I know who did. Grace stepped forward. Who? Samuel looked at his daughter. For a moment, something like genuine emotion crossed his face. Regret, perhaps, or guilt. It was Destiny Williams. Grace felt like she'd been slapped. What? Marcus went to see her after he made bail. He blamed her for testifying against him in court. He said she had ruined his life. She said he had ruined hers first. How do you know this? Because I was there. Helen's eyes narrowed. You were there when Marcus was killed. I was in my car, in the parking garage. I had been following Marcus since he left custody. I wanted to see what he would do, where he would go. Why would you follow him? Samuel's voice cracked. Because I was afraid he would go after Grace. Grace stared at her father. You were protecting me. I know you don't believe me. I know you think I'm a monster. But you're still my daughter, Grace. Whatever I've done, whatever mistakes I've made, I never wanted you to get hurt. But you introduced me to him. You arranged everything. I know, and I'll never forgive myself for that. But I thought Marcus was different. I thought he would take care of you. I didn't know what he really was until it was too late. Helen stepped forward. Tell us exactly what happened in that garage. Samuel poured himself another drink. His hands were shaking. Marcus met Destiny on the 3rd level. They argued, loudly. He grabbed her, shoved her against a car, started screaming that she was a traitor, that she had destroyed him. He took a long sip of whiskey. Destiny had a gun. I don't know where she got it. Maybe she'd had it all along. She pulled it out and pointed it at his chest. Marcus laughed. He actually laughed. He said she didn't have the guts to pull the trigger. Samuel's voice dropped to a whisper. He was wrong. Grace covered her mouth with her hands. She shot him. Once, in the head. He dropped instantly. She stood there staring at him for maybe 10 seconds. Then she walked away, got in her car, drove off. And you just watched? Helen demanded. You didn't try to stop her. You didn't call the police. I was in shock. I couldn't move. By the time I came to my senses, she was gone, and Marcus was dead. Why are you telling us this? Grace asked. Samuel looked at her with tired eyes. Because the police are going to figure it out eventually. When they do, they're going to question everyone connected to Marcus, including you, including me. So you're trying to get ahead of the story. I'm trying to protect you, Grace. If the police think you were involved in Marcus's death, your life will be destroyed. I couldn't let that happen. Helen stepped between them. This is very convenient, Samuel. A perfect witness account that shifts all blame to the mistress. How do we know you're telling the truth? You don't, but the security cameras in the garage were disabled that night. Someone cut the feeds. I'm guessing that was Marcus. He didn't want any record of his meeting with Destiny. Or someone else cut those feeds. Someone who wanted to eliminate witnesses. Samuel met Helen's gaze. You think I killed him? I think you're capable of anything when your interests are threatened. Marcus was a liability. He knew about your involvement in Summit Holdings. He knew about your corruption. With him alive, he could testify against you. With him dead, I lose my only leverage in this investigation. Unless you planned to blame Destiny all along. Samuel slammed his glass down. I didn't kill him, Helen. I'm many things, but I'm not a murderer. Then prove it. Take a polygraph. Submit to FBI questioning. Fine, I'll do whatever they want. But right now we have a bigger problem. What problem? Destiny Williams is missing. She hasn't been seen since she left that parking garage. If the FBI finds her before we do, this whole situation could spiral out of control. Why would that matter to you? Samuel hesitated. For a moment he looked genuinely afraid. Because Destiny knows things. About me. About my business. About deals I've made that could put me away for life. Marcus told her everything. He used her as a sounding board. He bragged about his connections to her. Grace felt pieces clicking into place. You're not protecting me. You're protecting yourself. I'm protecting both of us. If Destiny talks to the FBI, we all go down. You, me, your mother, everyone. Helen laughed coldly. Nice try, Samuel. But I've never had any involvement with your criminal enterprises. No, but you were married to me for 18 years. You benefited from my money. You built your law firm with clients I referred to you. Do you really think the FBI won't look into that? Grace watched her mother's face. For the first time, she saw a flicker of uncertainty. That was decades ago, Helen said carefully, before I knew what you were. Does it matter? The press will crucify you. The Iron Queen of Washington built on dirty money. Your reputation will be destroyed. Is that a threat? It's a reality check. We're all in this together, Helen, whether you like it or not. The room fell silent. Grace looked between her parents. Two people who had built empires. Two people who had destroyed her life. Now they stood facing each other, neither willing to back down. What do you want, Samuel? Helen asked finally. I want to find Destiny before the FBI does. I want to make sure she doesn't talk. You want to silence her. I want to negotiate with her. Offer her money, protection, whatever it takes to keep her quiet. And if she won't be quiet... Samuel didn't answer. He didn't have to. Grace stepped forward. I won't be part of this. Both her parents turned to look at her. Grace, Samuel began. No, I'm done being manipulated. I'm done being used as a pawn in your games. Marcus is dead. Maybe he deserved it. Maybe he didn't. But I'm not going to help you cover up a murder. This isn't about covering anything up. This is about survival. Then survive without me. Grace turned and walked toward the door. Grace, wait. Helen's voice stopped her. Where are you going? To the FBI. I'm going to tell them everything I know. About Marcus, about Daddy, about all of it. If you do that, your father could go to prison for life. Good. Samuel's face contorted with rage. You ungrateful little... Careful, Samuel. Helen's voice was deadly. That's my daughter you're speaking to. She's my daughter too, and she's about to destroy everything I've built. You destroyed yourself. You destroyed her marriage. You destroyed her life. Now you're facing consequences. Welcome to justice. Samuel looked between them, mother and daughter standing united against him. He laughed bitterly. You think you've won? You think this is over. I have lawyers. I have connections. I have resources you can't imagine. You have nothing, Grace said quietly, except time, and that's running out. She opened the door and walked out. Helen followed her daughter into the hallway. They stood together in silence for a moment. "Are you sure about this?" Helen asked softly. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." "It won't be easy. The investigation could take months, years. You'll have to testify against your own father. He stopped being my father a long time ago. I just didn't know it until now." Helen reached out and took her daughter's hand. "I'm proud of you, Grace." "For what?" "For finally seeing the truth. For having the courage to act on it. Most people see the truth and look away. You're facing it head on." Grace squeezed her mother's hand. "I learned from the best." They walked out of the building together. The night air was cool against Grace's face. She breathed deeply, filling her lungs with freedom. Her phone rang. David Chen. "Grace, I just heard about Marcus Patterson. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, but I have information about who killed him, about my father's involvement. I need to give a statement. Can you come to the office now?" "I'm on my way." She hung up and looked at her mother. "This is really happening. I'm about to testify against my own father." "Yes, you are." "Will you be there with me?" Helen smiled. That warm smile that Grace remembered from childhood, before the divorce, before everything fell apart. "I'll be there every step of the way. That's what mothers do." They got in the car and drove toward the FBI field office. Grace watched the city lights blur past the window. So much had changed in 24 hours. Yesterday she had walked into a courtroom expecting to lose everything. Tonight she was about to take down one of the most powerful men in Texas. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Grace's heart stopped, but it wasn't Marcus this time. It couldn't be. She opened the message. "Mrs. Patterson, this is Destiny Williams. I know you have no reason to trust me, but I need to talk to you. I need to explain what happened. I need you to understand why I did what I did. Please, before the FBI finds me. There are things you need to know. Things about your father. Things about your husband. Things that will change everything you think you know about your life. Meet me at the River Oaks house. Midnight. Come alone." Grace stared at the message. Her hands trembled. The woman who killed her husband wanted to meet, alone, at midnight. Grace should delete the message. She should tell the FBI. She should let them handle it. But something in Destiny's words caught her attention. Things that will change everything you think you know about your life. Grace had thought she knew everything. About Marcus, about her father, about her mother. What if she was wrong? What if there was more? The car turned toward the FBI office. Grace had a choice to make. Tell the FBI and let them find Destiny. Or meet her alone and hear what she had to say. Grace made her decision in 3 seconds. "Mama, turn the car around." "What, why?" "I need to go somewhere, alone." Helen's eyes narrowed. "Grace, what's going on?" "Trust me, please. I'll explain everything when it's over." "Where are you going?" Grace met her mother's eyes. "To find the truth, the whole truth, whatever that costs." Helen studied her daughter's face for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Be careful." "I will." The car stopped. Grace got out. She stood on the empty street watching her mother drive away. Then she called for a rideshare and typed in the address. The River Oaks house, the home she had shared with Marcus for 6 years, the place where her nightmare began. And maybe, just maybe, the place where it would finally end. The rideshare dropped Grace at the corner of her old street at 11:47 p.m. She walked the last block alone, her footsteps echoing in the silence. The River Oaks house loomed ahead. Dark. Empty. Full of ghosts. Grace hadn't been here since the day Marcus threw her out 3 months ago. She remembered standing on this same sidewalk with 2 suitcases and nowhere to go. She remembered Marcus watching from the window laughing. Now Marcus was dead, and somehow Grace was back. She approached the front door. It was unlocked. She pushed it open and stepped inside. "Hello?" Grace called out. Her voice echoed through the empty rooms. "In here!" Destiny's voice came from the living room. Grace walked toward it, her heart pounding. Destiny Williams sat on the couch where Grace used to sit. She looked different than she had in court. Smaller, younger, more afraid. Her mascara was smeared. Her hands were shaking. A gun lay on the coffee table in front of her. "Don't worry," Destiny said, seeing Grace's eyes on the weapon. "I'm not going to shoot you. I'm done shooting people." Grace didn't move. "Why did you want to meet me?" "Because you deserve to know the truth. The whole truth. Not the version your father is selling, not the version the FBI will put together, the real story. About Marcus. About everything." Destiny picked up the gun and moved it to the floor beside her. She gestured to a chair across from the couch. "Sit. Please. This is going to take a while." Grace sat. She kept her eyes on Destiny, ready to run if necessary. "How did you know I would come?" Grace asked. "Because you're like me. You need answers. You can't live without knowing the truth. Marcus told me that about you. He said it was your biggest weakness. Marcus talked to you about me. All the time. He was obsessed with you. Even while he was with me, he couldn't stop talking about you." Grace felt sick. "That's not obsession. That's control." "I know that now. I didn't know it then. I was young, stupid. I thought he loved me. I thought he was going to leave you and marry me." "He told you that. Every day for 2 years. He said you were boring, cold, that you didn't understand him. He said I was the one who really saw him." Destiny laughed bitterly. "I did see him, eventually. I saw exactly what he was. A liar, a manipulator, a monster. So you killed him." "I protected myself. There's a difference." Grace leaned forward. "Tell me what happened, in the parking garage." Destiny's eyes grew distant. She was reliving it. Every moment. "Marcus called me after he made bail. He was furious. He blamed me for testifying against him in court. He said I had betrayed him. He said I was going to pay. He threatened you. He always threatened me. That was our relationship. Threats and apologies. Violence and flowers. I should have left him a long time ago." "Why didn't you—" Destiny's voice cracked. "Because he made me feel special. He made me feel like I was the only woman in the world who understood him. He told me his wife was a burden. His father-in-law was a tyrant. He said I was his escape, his sanctuary. But that changed. It changed when your mother showed me the phone records, the messages to the woman in Atlanta. Suddenly I wasn't special anymore. I was just another victim in a long line of victims." Destiny wiped her eyes. "I confronted him in the parking garage. I told him I knew about the other woman. I told him I was done being his plaything. He laughed at me. He grabbed me by the throat and slammed me against his car." Grace felt her own throat tighten. She knew that move. She had felt those hands. "He said I was nothing, disposable. He said he could destroy my life with one phone call. He said nobody would believe a whore over a businessman. So you shot him." "I had the gun in my purse. I bought it 2 weeks ago. After Marcus hit me for the first time, I told myself it was for protection. I told myself I would never actually use it." Destiny looked at Grace with hollow eyes. "But when he had his hands on my throat, when I could see the hatred in his eyes, I knew it was him or me, so I chose me." The room was silent for a long moment. "I don't blame you," Grace said quietly. Destiny looked surprised. "You don't—" "Marcus put his hands on me too, many times. I know what it feels like to look into those eyes and see nothing but cruelty." "Then you understand why I did it." "I understand, but understanding doesn't change the law. You killed a man, Destiny. The FBI is looking for you." "I know. That's why I needed to talk to you first. There are things you need to know before they find me. Things that could change everything." "What things?" Destiny reached into her bag and pulled out a manila envelope. She handed it to Grace. "Open it." Grace opened the envelope. Inside were photographs, documents, bank statements. Her hands started shaking as she looked through them. What is this? Proof of everything. Marcus kept records of every dirty deal he ever made, every bribe, every payment, every secret. Grace pulled out a photograph. It showed her father shaking hands with a man in a judge's robe. Both of them were smiling. Behind them was a sign that read, Houston Golf Club. That's Judge Morrison, Destiny said. He's the one who approved the freeze on your bank accounts, the one who was going to rule in Marcus's favor tomorrow. My father bribed a judge. Your father bribed 6 judges, over 15 years. Morrison was just the latest. Grace flipped through more documents, wire transfers, property deeds, offshore accounts. How did you get all this? Marcus trusted me. He thought I was too stupid to understand what I was looking at. He kept everything in a safe in the Miami condo. I copied it all 6 months ago. Insurance, he called it. Insurance against what? Against your father. Marcus was afraid of Samuel. He knew that if things went wrong, Samuel would sacrifice him to save himself. So Marcus kept evidence. Leverage, just in case. Grace's mind was racing. Does my father know you have this? He suspects. That's why he's trying to find me. That's why he told you his version of what happened in that garage. He said you shot Marcus in a rage, that it was impulsive. Destiny shook her head. Nothing about tonight was impulsive. Your father set it all up. Grace felt cold. What do you mean? Your father called me this afternoon. He told me where Marcus would be. He told me what time. He suggested I bring protection. He wanted you to kill Marcus. He wanted me to eliminate his problem. Marcus was a loose end, a liability. Your father is cleaning house. But why would you go along with it? Destiny's eyes filled with fresh tears. Because Marcus deserved to die. And because your father promised me protection, money, a new identity. He said if I did this one thing, I would be free forever. And you believed him. I was desperate. I had nothing. Marcus had taken everything from me just like he took everything from you. Your father offered me a way out. But now you're running. He didn't keep his promise. He was never going to keep it. I realized that the moment I pulled the trigger. Your father doesn't protect people. He uses them. Then he throws them away. Grace looked at the documents in her hands. Evidence that could destroy her father. Evidence that could change everything. Why are you giving this to me? Because you're the only person who can use it. The FBI won't believe me. I'm a murderer. My testimony is worthless. But you're Samuel Ashford's daughter. You're Helen Ashford's daughter. Your word carries weight. You want me to take down my own father. I want justice. For me. For you. For all the women Marcus destroyed. For everyone your father has hurt over the years. Grace stared at Destiny for a long moment. 2 women. Both victims of the same men. Both fighting for survival. The FBI will still arrest you for murder. I know. I'm not asking for freedom. I'm asking for justice. There's a difference. Grace made her decision. She stood up and tucked the envelope under her arm. I'll make sure the right people see this. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This might not be enough. My father has lawyers, connections, power. Destiny smiled sadly. So does your mother. And now so do you. Grace walked toward the door. She stopped and turned back. What are you going to do? Wait. The FBI will find me eventually. When they do, I'll tell them everything, including what your father did. He'll deny it. He can try. But I recorded our phone call, every word. It's in that envelope. Grace's eyes widened. She opened the envelope again. At the bottom was a small USB drive she hadn't noticed before. Everything is on there, Destiny said. The phone calls, the text messages, the documents. Use it wisely. Grace nodded once. Then she walked out of the house. The night air hit her face like a slap. She stood on the porch for a moment, breathing deeply, processing everything she had just learned. Her father had orchestrated Marcus's murder. Her father had bribed judges for 15 years. Her father had destroyed lives to protect his empire. And now Grace had the proof. She called her mother. Helen answered on the first ring. "Grace, where are you? Are you okay?" "I'm fine. I'm at the house, our old house." "What? Why would you go there?" "I met with Destiny Williams." Silence on the other end. "She's alive." "For now. Mama, I have something. Something important. Documents. Recordings. Proof of everything Daddy has done." "What kind of proof?" "Enough to put him away forever." Helen was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was strange, careful. "Where did you get this?" "Destiny had it. Marcus kept records. Evidence against Daddy. Insurance. And she just gave it to you. She wants justice, same as me." "Grace, listen to me carefully. Do not show those documents to anyone until I've seen them first." "Why?" "Because I need to verify they're authentic. I need to make sure they can't be used against you." "Against me? How could they be used against me?" "Just trust me. Come to the hotel. We'll go through everything together." Grace hesitated. Something in her mother's voice didn't feel right. "Mama, is there something you're not telling me?" "We'll talk when you get here." "Tell me now." Helen sighed, a long, heavy sigh. "Some of those documents might mention me." Grace felt her heart stop. "What?" "Your father and I were married for 18 years, Grace. We built things together. Some of those things weren't entirely legal. You knew about the bribes, the corruption. I knew some of it, not all, but enough. And you never said anything. I was protecting myself, protecting my career, protecting you and Emma." Grace couldn't breathe. "You're no different than him." "That's not fair." "Isn't it? You've been playing me this whole time, acting like the hero, acting like you came to rescue me. But you came to protect yourself, just like Daddy." "Grace, please. It's complicated." "No, it's simple. You both used me. You both lied to me. The only difference is you're better at hiding it." "Let me explain." "I don't want your explanations. I want the truth. For once in my life, I want someone to tell me the truth." Grace hung up. She stood on the porch, staring at her phone. Her hands were shaking. Her whole body was shaking. Everyone had lied to her. Marcus, her father, now her mother. Everyone she had ever trusted had betrayed her. She had never felt more alone. Her phone rang again. Helen calling back. Grace rejected the call. It rang again, and again, and again. Then a different number appeared. "David Chen," Grace answered. "Hello." "Grace, I just got a call from your mother. She's worried about you. Where are you?" "I'm fine." "She said you have documents, evidence related to the case." "I do." "Can you bring them to the office? We need to process them properly." Grace looked at the envelope in her hands. Evidence that could destroy her father. Evidence that might implicate her mother. Evidence that could change everything. "Grace, are you there?" "I'm here. I'm coming." She hung up and called for another rideshare. 20 minutes later, she walked into the FBI field office. David Chen met her at the entrance. "Thank you for coming. Can I see what you have?" Grace handed over the envelope. "Everything is in there, documents, photos, and a USB drive with recordings." David opened the envelope and began flipping through the contents. His face grew darker with each page. "Where did you get this?" "Destiny Williams. She was Marcus's mistress. She had evidence that Marcus was keeping, insurance against my father." This is significant. There's more. Recordings of my father admitting to setting up Marcus's murder. He told Destiny where to find him. He told her to bring a weapon. David looked up sharply. He orchestrated the killing. That's what Destiny said. The recording should prove it. David pulled out the USB drive and stared at it. "If this is authentic, your father is looking at conspiracy to commit murder, on top of everything else." "I know." Are you sure you want to do this? He's your father. Grace thought about her mother's phone call, about the lies, about the manipulation, about the years of believing people who never deserved her trust. He stopped being my father a long time ago. David nodded slowly. All right, we'll process this immediately. I'll need you to stay for additional questioning. I'll stay as long as you need. David led her to a conference room. Grace sat down and waited. An hour passed, then 2. She could hear voices in the hallway, phones ringing, doors opening and closing. Something was happening. Finally, David came back. His face was grave. We verified the recordings. They're authentic. So you're going to arrest my father? We already did, 20 minutes ago. He's in custody. Grace felt nothing, no relief, no satisfaction, just emptiness. What about my mother? David hesitated. Some of the documents mention her. We're still reviewing. Is she in trouble? I can't discuss an ongoing investigation. Please, I need to know. David sat down across from her. Off the record. Off the record. Some of the early transactions involved your mother's law firm, shell companies that she may have helped establish. But it was over 20 years ago, and there's no evidence she knew what those companies would be used for. So she might be okay. Possibly. We'll know more once we complete the investigation. Grace leaned back in her chair, exhausted, drained, empty. What happens now? Your father will be charged. Conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, bribery, money laundering. He's looking at life in prison. And Destiny. We found her an hour ago, at your old house. She surrendered peacefully. She'll face charges for Marcus's death, but given the circumstances, the prosecutor is likely to consider self-defense. She might go free. It's possible, especially with her cooperation in the larger case. Grace nodded slowly. Some part of her was glad. Destiny was a victim too. Just another woman destroyed by the men Grace had trusted. Can I go now? Yes, but stay in Houston. We'll need you for testimony. Grace stood up. Her legs felt weak. She walked out of the conference room and through the FBI office. Her mother was waiting in the lobby. Helen looked terrible. Her perfect composure was shattered. Her eyes were red. Her hands were trembling. Grace, please, let me explain. Grace stopped. She looked at her mother, the Iron Queen, the woman who had walked into that courtroom and destroyed Marcus Patterson with nothing but words. The woman who had seemed so powerful, so invincible. Now she just looked old and scared and alone. I don't want explanations anymore, Grace said quietly. I want honesty. I am being honest. I made mistakes. Decades ago. I was young, ambitious. I cut corners I shouldn't have cut. Did you know what Daddy was doing? The bribes, the corruption. I suspected. But I looked the other way. I told myself it wasn't my problem. I told myself I was just building my career. And when you divorced him, when he turned me against you, did you ever think about telling the truth? Helen's voice cracked. Every day. But I was afraid. Afraid of what it would mean for you and Emma. Afraid of what it would mean for me. So you let me hate you for 23 years. I thought it was better than the alternative. What alternative? Telling you that both your parents were corrupt. Telling you that everything you believed about your family was a lie. Grace felt tears streaming down her face. I believed Daddy because you didn't fight. You just let him win. I know, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. They stood in silence. Mother and daughter. Both broken. Both betrayed. Both trying to find their way back to each other. What happens now? Grace asked. I don't know. The FBI is reviewing my past cases. If they find evidence of wrongdoing, I could face charges. Could you go to prison? It's possible. Grace felt something shift inside her. Despite everything, despite all the lies, this was still her mother. The woman who had flown across the country to save her. The woman who had destroyed Marcus Patterson in open court. The woman who was standing here, now vulnerable and afraid, waiting for her daughter's judgment. "I'm angry at you," Grace said slowly. "I'm furious. You lied to me. You kept secrets. You let me believe things that weren't true. I know. But you also saved me. Yesterday in that courtroom, you saved my life. I should have saved you sooner. Yes, you should have." Grace took a deep breath. "But you're here now. That has to count for something." Helen's eyes filled with tears. "Does it? I don't know yet. I need time to process everything, to figure out who I can trust." "I understand." Grace reached out and took her mother's hand. "But I don't want to lose you again. Whatever happens, whatever the FBI finds, I don't want another 23 years of silence." Helen squeezed her daughter's hand tightly. "Neither do I." They walked out of the FBI building together. The sun was rising over Houston. A new day, a new beginning. 3 weeks later, Grace stood in a different courtroom. This time, she wasn't the defendant. She was the witness. Samuel Ashford sat at the defendant's table. He looked broken, defeated. His expensive suit hung loosely on his frame. He had lost weight. He had lost everything. The judge read the charges. Conspiracy to commit murder. 32 counts of fraud. 18 counts of bribery, money laundering, obstruction of justice. Grace testified for 4 hours. She told the truth. Every ugly detail, every painful memory, every lie she had uncovered. When it was over, she walked out of the courtroom without looking at her father. She didn't need to. She was done with him. 6 months later, Samuel Ashford was convicted on all charges. He was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison. He would die behind bars. Helen Ashford was cleared of all wrongdoing. The FBI found no evidence that she had knowingly participated in her ex-husband's crimes. Her reputation survived. Barely. Destiny Williams pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. Given the evidence of Marcus's abuse and her cooperation with the investigation, she was sentenced to 5 years, with the possibility of parole after 3. And Grace sold the River Oaks house. She donated the money to a shelter for abused women. She moved into a small apartment near her sister Emma. She started painting again, selling her work at local galleries, building a life that was entirely her own. 1 year after that day in the courtroom, Grace received a letter. It was from her mother, who had moved back to Washington but called every Sunday without fail. Inside the letter was a photograph. Grace at her first solo art exhibition. Smiling, confident, free. On the back, Helen had written 3 words. "That's my daughter." Grace framed the photograph and hung it on her wall. Every morning she looked at it and remembered. She remembered the courtroom, the gray dress, the shaking hands, the moment when those doors flew open and everything changed. She remembered Marcus's cruelty, her father's betrayal, her mother's secrets. But most of all, she remembered standing up, speaking out, fighting back. Grace Patterson had walked into that courtroom expecting to lose everything. Instead, she had found something far more valuable than money or property or status. She had found herself. And no one would ever take that away again. Because Grace Ashford Patterson was no longer a victim. She was a survivor. She was a warrior. She was her mother's daughter. And she had finally learned the most important lesson of all. The people who try to destroy you always underestimate one thing: your ability to rise.